Well, it feels a bit like being at a wedding receptionist, isn't it? You've had to queue for the buffet, and now we're all back again waiting for the bride and groom to have the first dance, but actually you had sort of Gary and Phil this morning do that, so I can't repeat that. And the other thing it reminded me of was, I don't know if you were at school and you remember when it was a nice day and there was a football pitch outside and you used to go down and play football and the teachers had to get you all back again, you know, so it was a bit like that. But I'm going to talk about regional collaboration, and I thought what I'd do to start with is just ask you a little bit about what you think these organisations up here have in common. Any suggestions?
Leading brands.
Leading brands. Any other suggestions? Successful. Well, that's good, because those are two things they have in common. The other thing these companies have in common, they all started as a result of successful collaborations. Tesco's was brought together by T.E. Stockwell and Arthur Cohen, who were a customer and supplier. They collaborated and all those years ago and formed a very successful brand called Tesco. And Tesco, as we know today, is one of the leading companies in the retail sector. For people like my wife, you will all be well aware of Marks and Spencer's. But again, Marks and Spencer started as two successful collaborations. One, and that was an international collaboration because that was between an Englishman and a Russian. Vinci Group is today a very powerful brand in the construction industry. But actually, that was the coming together of Northwest Holtz, of the Weaver Group, and of Taylor Woodrow. And as three separate companies, they collaborated, and again, are leading the market in that field. Last week, I fell into a trap of having aerospace auditors in the audience, and of course we talked about British Aerospace, but again, British Aerospace is a result of a successful collaboration. In the 1970s, it was Hawker Siddeley, it was a Scottish Aviation Association coming together, forming British Aerospace. Away from business, we have Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber, you know, international musicals, world-renowned. Again, a successful coming together collaboration. And for those of you like your Saturday nights, then you've got Torval and Dean, and we all know about the collaboration around the Olympics. Equally, what do these have in common? Now, these effectively are all results of what you could possibly argue are unsuccessful collaborations. We all know the unsuccessful HBOS TSB, Lloyd's TSB story. But in the 1990s, Volvo and Renault got together, and that became a £3 million lawsuit by just not working together. We've had an unsuccessful IBM and Sun collaboration, and one close to where I originate from was a car company that collaborated with a Russian organisation, and that became bust as well. But also we've had last year another unsuccessful collaboration. Some may argue perhaps a little bit too much collaboration in places, but again, someone it just didn't work. So what is collaboration? Well, if you go to the dictionary, you'll see collaboration is about it's working jointly. It's working together to create a common result. It's taking part and sharing with others, especially in a business. And the dictionary actually says that. It says actually especially in business. Two or more persons working together, and the combined action of a group, especially when effective and efficient. Now, if you think about the 1BSI as a concept, all those things there are what we are trying to achieve. What we're trying to do is satisfy the best customer service by working together collaboratively. And all these things are part of that. Already, we've heard today of some very successful EMEA collaborations. Trevor got recognised earlier. We had a real issue with our OSAS accreditation. And that was a particularly thorny topic over a number of years. And by different departments within the business working very closely together, we achieved that. We got through it. Project Hush, the people that got recognised earlier today, were not just operations people. There were sales people there. There was people from training. There was people from compliance. Actually, it was a group collaboration for a common aim. This year, we've launched the Customer Services Project under Gary and Phil's leadership. And again, that was about trying to get different parts of the business to work together. We've talked about our internal audit program. One of the things about our internal audit program this year is actually a lot of the audits have been done by people who are not in compliance and risk. These audits have been done by people outside. So people are beginning to talk to each other. People are beginning to come together to try and understand the processes. We had the SIA tender, and again, that was another successful collaborative project. One that looked across the business streams was PAS 125. PAS 125, that has been, as we've said several times today, has been one of our success stories. And that, if anything, should give you the encouragement of the businesses working together from different parts of the business for a common aim. It just shows you how powerful that can be in the marketplace. So one of the particular areas that I've been asked to talk about is the journey we went through from a collaborative process around our global accreditation program, which sort of started in 2008 and rolled into 2009. Because this was really a coming together of different parts of the EMEA region and how we worked together to actually bring about a successful result. If we look at some of the history, in April in 2009, the UK as it was and the CEMEA region as it was became one EMEA region. And within that process, it happened to coincide with the time we were heading towards sort of our first full global accreditation program for our 17021 accreditation. Now, this effectively was our license to trade, and as part of the coming together, there have been quite a number of changes in the management structure and the process within EMEA. There were a number of challenges as part of that rollout process. Certainly, there were sort of different levels of responsibilities and authorities from country to country. It's fair to say that the previous interaction between what was CEMEA and the UK was very disjointed. And certainly a lot of the areas we had were very UK-centric, which really didn't help the countries. What was very clear was, at that time, there was no real sort of clear, consistent application of our processes, and we wanted to try and sort of make them more consistent. And the thing that was focusing in everybody's mind was, well, actually, at the back end of this year, in the last quarter, we had our global registrar going in and out our country offices and actually looking very critically at our processes. And that was the challenge that was ahead of us to actually sort of get through that process. There were certain things happening around it as well. We had a risk program, but actually, again, it was very much sort of country to country. It's fair to say the risks from country to country were different. There were some countries with a lot of risks, some with not many risks. But the thing that stood out was actually there was no EMEA risk program. So across EMEA, when you started to look at it country by country, there were lots of different risks, but actually there were common themes. And we really needed to start with coordinating and reporting that at a group level consistently. The other thing we had was we had a number of insurance risks. The European region, and by Europe I include the Middle East and Africa, there are a number of travel restrictions we had to deal with, and that was giving problems to our insurance broker. So we had to find, if you like, another coordinated way of managing that. The other thing that became quite apparent was we had a number of CNR staff in different countries who'd never actually met each other. They'd never actually spoken together as a group, and a lot of people working in isolation. We didn't have a common reporting format. We discovered we had restrictions sometimes where we could use our global accreditation. And just to make things complicated, Brussels decided that the world would change. We would become Fortress Europe, and the world of accreditation and regulation, that sort of changed effectively from the 1st of January this year. And I have to say, still a changing scene. So all these things were sort of against us, if you like, and we needed some way to work through this.